Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar, Business Viability, Assessing Your Business's Future. Our guest speaker today is Carole Long, who is now the Executive Director at Northwestern Ontario Innovation Centre. With years of experience in her previous roles, Carole has been instrumental in helping many entrepreneurs realize their business goals. Today, Carole will be sharing insights on business viability, helping us better understand how to assess business potential. We are very fortunate to have Carole here with us today, guiding us through these decisions. Carole?
Thank you, Peter. That's so nice of you to introduce me like that. I appreciate that. If everyone is not maybe familiar with the Innovation Center, we're located in Thunder Bay. We have a satellite office in Kenora. And our main objections are to support entrepreneurs in our region that are either manufacturing a product or have an innovation to their business. So if you fit in those two categories, you can reach out to us, and we have funding opportunities as well as training and other business advisory support. So thank you, NADF, for asking me here again. This is something that I really like to do, is to support our community members and giving them some sort of guidance and support in when they're having business ideas and how to validate that business idea. So I'm going to share my screen. Just give me a second here. Okay, it looks like everyone can see that screen, so I'm going to go ahead. So the topic today is business viability, assessing your business's future. So a lot of times we have these great business ideas, and this is just hopefully a way to help you understand to see if that business is going to be successful or not. Just making sure. Next slide. Oh, my slide's not moving. Oh, there it goes. So this is the agenda for today. We're going to start with the steps for success. That will be our first slide. And then we'll look more into strategies to adapt the pivot of competitive landscape. So there's lots of things that we have out of our control that we cannot control, for existence, like the tariffs. We have no control over them, but it's good to plan to see how you're going to sustain that issue. So there's tons of things that happen that businesses have to deal with, which maybe they weren't aware of. So it's really good to have a plan of how you're going to handle those situations. And then tools for ongoing business evaluation. So you're always going to be evaluating if your business is successful, even if you do like a marketing plan, or you go to a market, you go travel somewhere, whatever it may be. You always want to try to have some metrics or some key points to hit in order to make sure that that is made value for your business, made sense. And then we're going to end with a question and answer period. And then, of course, we'll spin the wheel at the end of the webinar. So it's step by step, how to validate or to see if your business viability. These are just some of the steps that I believe are usually the first things that should go through your mind when you have a business idea is, what problem does your product or service solve? So you have to figure out, like, are you actually solving a problem? Is it something that is needed by the community? What is the problem that you're solving? You really want to figure that out, because if you're solving no problem, it's really hard for the market to understand what your product is or what's the purpose of your product. So that's like a key idea for you to question yourself, or a key question to question yourself. And is it a problem that people care about? A lot of times there's products that they are maybe solving a problem, but the problem's not big enough that people care about. And a good way to figure it out is sometimes you ask people, like, how are you solving that problem now? So for instance, if I just look at, like, I have a water, oh, it's blacked out. I have a water jug right here. If my business is selling water jugs, do they care that I'm making another water jug? Probably not. There's probably not that big of a problem that there's lack of water jugs out in the market, but maybe there's a specific component to it. Maybe it cleans itself, or it has a certain amount, or tracks like your water intake, whatever that might then make it more clear what problem you're trying to solve. And then if your problem isn't solving a problem? Is it filling a gap? So a lot of times in Northwestern Ontario, we have a lot of gaps that need to be filled. So this is where the problem maybe isn't an issue here because there hasn't been that gap to be filled. So, you know, with the water bottle, obviously the water bottle is, maybe it's the water, maybe it's the gap of providing fresh water throughout every community. Maybe that's the gap that you're filling. Like, how are you supplying that? So those could be the two things that you really want to make sure that you have identified in your business is, are you solving a problem? Do people care about it? Or are you filling a gap that has not been out there? So I always like to use silly examples just to make it a little bit more realistic. So this is an example of products that are made that don't really solve a problem. This is a joke just to, you know, this is not a real product that actually hit the market, but you know, it's something that can be made, but should it be made and why? So if you look at the product, it's diapers. It's not even it's a diaper with not a full back. This is such an impractical product that it makes me laugh. No use to it, no nothing. It's a novelty. And you might say to yourself, well, there's lots of businesses that are novelty businesses, and that's fine. But usually businesses will not sustain the lifetime. You will probably have a novelty business just for, you know, a short time, probably under 5 years. And that's really hard to sustain a lifestyle or you know, support your family with just a 5-year business. So I think this is a funny thing to look at. 𝐂𝐚𝐫𝐶. Good name, but you know, the product, no one's going to buy it. Another key aspect to assessing your business is knowing who your customers are. That's very, very important. And a lot of times people will say, well, everyone's my customer. And even if I go back to the water jug example, everyone drinks water is something that we need to do to stay alive. So you could say, well, the jug of water is for everyone. That's not the case. It's never going to be the case. There's a specific group of people that will be attracted to your product, and you really need to figure that out. And the way you figure it out is what needs does that customer have? What preferences and what behaviors do they have? So it might be an age group. It might be a gender that would be more likely to buy your product. It might be a certain level of income that buys your product. Whatever you can do to narrow down that customer segment or the customer is better for you. And when I say that, it's because in the long run, when you actually start to spend money on marketing, you won't be just throwing marketing dollars everywhere. You'll be targeting your specific customers. So, you know, in Facebook, you can target specific customers in certain regions. I don't know if you can go into such detail as like their income level or gender, but other marketing platforms or software or whatnot will allow you to pick those specifics. And then you can save money and you can really figure it out. Also, too, if you're traveling to markets, say you have like a craft product and you want to go out to markets, you can look to see that location. Does it have enough people, you know, that suit your customer range? You can ask the market, what's the age groups that come out here, you know, just to get better idea if it's a fit for you. Otherwise, you'll spend so much money to try to get your name out there, your business out there, and you might be spending money where it doesn't make sense. So this is a really important, part of your business to really understand is who your customers are. I also like to know how they're solving that problem right now. So your business is solving a problem. How is that customer solving the problem currently? So if I look at the water jug again, how are they solving the problem of buying water jugs? And I could say, you know, maybe I ask them, like, how are you solving that problem? Where are you finding water jugs right now, water bottles? And they can say like, well, I go to Walmart, but you know, it's all plastic and it's made from China. And, you know, I really don't like buying from big bulk, but it's the only thing that I have. And then maybe their second is I go to Amazon and I buy offline, but the shipping's so expensive. So when you start these conversations, you can kind of understand what the problem is for the water bottle industry for your specific customers. And then you can market your like locally handcrafted water bottles, buy local, you know, like no shipping cost or whatever it may be. But when you start to understand how your customer is purchasing or where like your competitors are, you will understand a little bit better of how to position your business or your product. And that's the second one or the last line there too, is what are they saying about your competitors? You can ask your clients or your customers, or you can also go and look online and you can look at reviews. So I find this really helpful in terms of products. If you're selling certain products, to go to look at, say, like Etsy or Amazon, even Walmart Marketplace, they have more of like craft vendors on that. And go see it, go look at the reviews and see what people aren't liking about things, because that will really help you. You'll get one step further. You'll be able to explain, oh, my product doesn't have this and this, or you'll see on the Amazon reviews that most people don't like having a lid that's attached. They want or maybe they want a wider mouth, whatever it may be. You'll be able to understand what is the frustrations in the community currently, and that will put your business idea a lot further ahead than starting from ground zero and trying to access that information. Now, researching the market, this is really, really important. It's not to discourage you in your business idea, but it's for you to really understand if your business is going to be successful in the market that you want to sell it in. So you really want to know, like, how big is this market? So currently, hopefully by this time, you'll know who your customers are. So say if you specifically say, my main customers are female, and they're between the ages of 20 and 30, and they make $60,000 a year. So how big is that market in Thunder Bay if you're selling it? Or if you're in Sioux Lookout, how big is that market in Sioux Lookout? And so you can start to understand if you're going to make enough money in your market. It's not to say that you can't expand, but it just gives you an idea of how much money could you possibly make in your market right now. It's good to know that ahead of time so that you can plan that. Well, maybe you're just going to test your product in your market, but then afterwards you're going to go to Winnipeg, or maybe you're going to go down to the States, or maybe you're going to go more to South America, Southern Ontario, whatever it may be. But you really want to understand where your market and how big it is. You also want to know where your customers are located. Like I said, like, where are they? Sometimes that helps even with marketing when you're mailing. Sometimes Canada Post has an option where you can choose certain postal codes to send out flyers to, and that would be helpful and not cost as much as in sending it all throughout Ontario. And knowing your competitors as well is very important. Sometimes people shy away from that, and it's not to be, it's not to pit each other against each other. I always say, like, the sun can shine for everyone. There's opportunities for everyone, but it's just to know what sets you apart and what makes you different, to have a real clear understanding of that. So, for example, if you research your competitor and they're doing really great at that, that's great. You don't have to compete you don't have to compete on what they're doing really great, but maybe they're missing a certain pocket that they're not doing great at, or, whatever it may be. You're going to figure that out by researching your competitors and reading the feedback that the customers have online. If you don't see anything online, you can also go to, like, Reddit, those types of things. You can see if people are talking about that company and your competitor, and seeing what people like or what people don't like. A lot of times it has to do with customer service, for sure, especially in the digital world. People are complaining, maybe, I had to talk through a telemarketer. I couldn't talk directly to someone. I had to talk to someone in Edmonton, and no one was located in Northern Ontario. So that helps you position your business as people located in Northern Ontario. So you can start to use, what your competitors aren't doing so good as an advantage for you. So it's really good to understand that part of your competitors. So again, it's not to compete against them. It's to pick up on what they're not doing well, so that you can position yourself as, having so-and-so advantages in the market. And then what makes you different? That's your value proposition. If you've ever used a BMC, a business model canvas, you will know that the middle block there, it describes a value proposition, meaning what sets you apart. And it's really good to have that clear, especially in the day of the age that we're in. It seems very loud and busy in marketing. And so to be able to get that out really quickly at what sets you apart, why people would choose you over the competitors, why you're better, why you do better. And again, it's not sometimes people have a hard time with that because they feel like it's bragging, or it just feels uncomfortable sometimes. And, just set yourself apart. This is just saying what your business is doing good at and what your business is good at. So it's something to be proud of. It's not like you're boasting or bragging. It's just something people want to know why they would choose you. So you want to make it really clear for people. And then testing your idea. So I don't know if anyone has ever gotten to that stage before you've hit the actual, wide market. Sometimes you want to test your ideas first. And the best example I can use is like food products. So a lot of times before someone is baking muffins or breads or whatever, their friends and family has tasted their recipes and, have expressed, wow, you're really good at this, or you're really good at the soup. Or maybe it's even like a recipe of tea leaves or something like that you and your family's always enjoyed. And so you are already testing your product and you've gotten feedback. So there's a name for this, and it's called the MVP, the minimal viable product. And what that means is that you're creating a product that might not be the fancy end product that you're eventually going to sell, but it's just a way that you can get your customers to test your product. So for instance, if I use the bakery or the bread and muffin example, maybe it's someone sitting at, in a parking lot at a market or somewhere, and they're giving out like for instance, I was driving home. I live in 𝐂𝐚𝐫𝐿, and there's a gardener that's growing these vegetables, and they're all done in like a hydroponic loop, and it's pretty cool. And they were just standing outside on the side of the highway or the side of the road with free bags of lettuce to go and to taste. And I thought that was a really interesting, very Northern Ontario way to get your product out there for getting testing and feedback. And they had a little sticker on like where to their Facebook page. So they weren't even at a stage where they had a website. It was just for me to leave feedback on how I liked their lettuce. So it doesn't have to be a perfectly finished, pristine product. It's just a way of your customers testing it. And what you do is you're going through a loop. So you get your customers to test it. They give you feedback. You analyze that feedback by measurements or however you want to translate those insights. And then from that, you determine if you want to go forward with your product or if you need to add something or even scrap the idea altogether. And so sometimes this is like part of like a new way. I say new way, but it's been doing, people have been, this has been in practice for probably close to 30 years. But the old way was just get your idea out there, spend as much money as you can, get it into a retail store, and just like throw as many employees and money out there and just sell and market as much money. But that's where I feel like we've gotten into the 75% of businesses aren't successful. And it's probably because they use this older way of getting to the market without testing and doing a lot of research beforehand. So this, sometimes it's uncomfortable because you have feedback where people say, well, this isn't my flavor, I don't really like it. And it's hard when you love your idea and your business, but this will save you money in the long run, and it will actually create a better product that will have more sustainability in the long run too. So even though these types of exercises feel sometimes a little uncomfortable, or you don't like the feedback, whatever it is, it's only there to benefit you and your business and the livelihood of your business. So it's nothing that is required for you to do, but it's strongly advised that you get something out there. And if you have something where, your product isn't like a food product or whatnot, there's other minimal viable products that you can do as much as even a flyer. Sometimes I've gotten my clients to produce a flyer that, if you're going to send people flyers in the mail or you're going to advertise on a bulletin board, I want to see what that flyer looks like and how you're describing your business. And that can help me understand if I understand what your main proposition is or what your value of your business is. So even sometimes simple things like a brochure or a flyer is part of an MVP. Anything that you can actually put on paper or get people to test or give feedback of what your business idea is very helpful. And when I say this, you don't have to explain what your business idea is. So sometimes people feel like this leads to where people could copy their idea. You don't have to be so explanatory of what your business idea. They're just testing your food, or they're just looking at your business flyer. You're not really divulging a lot of things. As an entrepreneur, you should know that it is very hard to get a business off the ground. So most people aren't really going to take your idea and be more successful than you are. You're already like steps ahead of the game. So I wouldn't use that as a deterrent from testing your ideas. And if you are really, really, really cautious about it, maybe it has to do with software or something more proprietary, more of an IP situation, then it might be something where you're getting people to sign NDAs in order to give you a feedback of your idea. I just don't want you to shy away from testing your product before you get it out there. And then financial feasibility, that's an interesting one, because it really depends on who you are. Individually, it depends on how much money you want to make in your business. Some people, it's their only income for their family. Sometimes it's their side hustle. So it depends on you to understand what income you need from this. So you just need to figure that out for yourself. And then also too is a lot of times I see, especially with craft businesses and baking businesses, is that the owner is the one that's doing all of the work. The owner is the one that's, taking the time for the beating or taking the time for the cooking, and they forget to account their time into their cost of their business. So just if you take all of the expenses, so say if I look at baking bread, I'm taking the flour, the sugar, the water, the eggs, even maybe a portion of the containers, because eventually, your business will have to buy containers, the mixer, whatever it may be, the oven, all of those things. And I'm not saying that you have to, put down $1,000, I had to buy an oven, but maybe you take $1 each time it costs to use the oven, because eventually that oven's going to break down and you're going to have to replace it. So you're going to have to somehow find money for that. So you want to put that into the cost. So anyways, it's really good to look at that on a spreadsheet or even just a piece of paper, is to look at your product and really break it down to as finite as possible to figure out what actually is going into my final product. What are the costs of it? And then you want to look, this is another reason why it's good to do the market research, and especially into your your competitors, is that does the product fit within the same price range that people are paying things for? Sometimes you can charge more, and you can charge more based on if your value proposition makes sense. So what would set you apart, especially someone here in Northern Ontario right now, we're going through this thing with, the United States and whatever, you see people being more proud about stating, business owned by Canadian made product. So maybe that's something where you are, you're able to charge more because your costs are higher because you're building that product in Canada. You're not outsourcing to China or any other overseas company. So you're making that clear in your marketing. You're making it clear that you're charging more because you're a Canadian owned company and it's a lot more expensive to run a business here in Canada. Whatever it may be, but you just want to be able to have a reasoning as to why maybe you're more expensive than the average competitor that you have, or maybe you're going to fit right in the middle. I'm not too sure. I just tend to see that sometimes we compare ourselves to Amazon's or the Walmart, which is not a fair comparison. They have much bulk buying capacity than the smaller businesses. It's just a lot different, but the average consumer does not know that. So it's really good to understand why you're more special than, say, a Walmart. And there's many, many, many reasons. And it's, again, it's not that you're bragging, you're just you're making people understand why, you're that value, why you're worth that value. And then I always, when I have clients coming here and they have a product that they want to develop, I always try to make sure that I put a big buffer in there, because eventually their product will probably hit retail markets. And I usually say the retail companies or the retail businesses will probably want 30% of your product. So what happens is that most people these days will have one product, or maybe you'll have, say it's a cream store, you have a bunch of hand creams and maybe a different smells to them or whatever. It would be pretty hard to open up a brick and mortar retail store just selling that. So what they do is they go to other local businesses, and other local businesses will carry their product. And in order to do that, that local business wants to have some sort of kickback, some sort of payment in order to shelf your product on their shelving. And it's fair, like they've established, you know, customers, they've established you know, a reputation in Thunder Bay or in the region, wherever they are. So they do have some value that you should pay them. And usually it's around 30%. So you want to make sure that you have enough money in your profit to pay that. You don't have to go to retail. That's nothing that, you know, if you're selling directly online to your customer and you find that that works for you, that's fine. You can continue to do that. If you find that you going to markets and maybe other opportunities where you get to sell right in front of customers, you rather do that, that is fine as well. It's just something that, you know, to think of ahead of time. If it's where you want to bring your products eventually to the market in more of a retail space, then this is something that you'll need to think about. And then at the bottom here, this is just like an average. It's something that I just started to tell people about this. I've seen a lot of e-commerce websites like Shopify, even Amazon, if you can get on Amazon. Even if you have your own website and people can directly buy from you and your website. I did an average cost, and just to maintain your website and, you know, your shipping costs, because there's stamp, there's packaging, whatever it may be, your average shopping cart should be around $100, which, you know, seems like a lot, but if you have a product, if I'm selling just that water bottle and it's, you know, $10, it's going to be very hard for me to sustain that business online and to pay for all the fees that cost online. And because then you get into a third party that takes the money, then they take like a percentage, then they give you the money. All of that stuff, you tend to lose money along the way before that money reaches into your bank account. So you need to have that cost of your shopping cart up a little bit higher than what maybe you thought. And it's not to discourage you, but maybe then to find other opportunities to package things together. So maybe you're packaging 3 water bottles together. Maybe you're making it a colored thing, or maybe you're giving them, you know, special cleaning tools with it. So then you can upsell and make that shopping cart a little bit more expensive. And this is just a little quick math that I use for myself. I find it really easy. It's really quick. It makes sense to me. If you have your other way, that's fine. I find math is very, everyone has their own way that it makes sense to themselves. So, you know, if this does not make sense to you, don't worry about it. It's just something that I find that I can do really quickly on myself or for my clients. So again, I asked them what I talked about earlier is how much do they want to make out of this business? So say if someone's like, well, I want to make $50,000 a year. Right away, I'll say, okay, do you know what your profit is of your product? And even if you have multiple products, just take an average. So say, you know, you have 10 products and a couple of them have $1, maybe $3, add that all together, divide it by 10, that's your average. So I put an average of $10 as my profit. So then I take the 10 and divide it by the 50,000, and that gives me 5,000. So what that means is I need to sell 5,000 products within a year to make $50,000. And that's very rough. There's some other taxes maybe I didn't account for or whatever, but that just makes me understand, do I have the capacity to sell 5,000 items? Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm comfortable. Maybe I know that at each market I sell 1,000 products. So then I know, okay, I only have to do 5 markets within a year. That makes sense. I can plan that out. Or maybe it's, I can't sell 5,000. The most I've ever sold was 2,000. Okay, well then maybe I need to increase my sell of the product so my profit is larger, so that I don't have to sell as much. But doing some sort of math like this, some sort of understanding of what you want to get out of your business will make it much better for you to plan for. I didn't do this for my first year of business. And let me tell you, at the end of the year, when I saw how much money, it was very disappointing to me. I just thought of all the effort and all the energy I was putting into it. I thought, oh, I'm going to make a lot of money. It's going to be great. and it wasn't so great. So I started to then understand how to make better use of my time, and just like maybe I was spreading myself too thin, maybe I was doing things that weren't making a lot of money, and then trying to do things that were making more money instead of just doing everything. So this is just a really quick thing. Again, it's not something necessary. It's just something that I like to use for myself. I tend to have a lot of ideas that go through my head all the time. So I try to have ways of thinking, is it really going to make me money? So strategies to adapt and pivot to a competitive landscape. So this is interesting, especially because we've gone through COVID and now we're going to start to go through the tariffs. So these are things that are really out of our control, but there's things that we need to be aware of as well. And so it's really good to monitor your market trends. What's increasing in sales, and these are easy Googleable things. Like you can use Google and say, like, what are the trends for the water bottle? If you see any reports that pop up that ask you to pay for any money to read them, do not do that. Like, it's not worth it. They're into the thousands of dollars. You should be able to find trends without going to pay for these reports. But it's just good to know if someone is, like, I know like the housing is starting to slow down right now because people are unaware of the steel structures that we order from the States. So that's good to know. So maybe that tells you, oh, look at how many, housing or whatever buildings have stopped being built because of the steel tariffs that are being put on us. So maybe it's like, well, maybe I'll start to see if I can do these steel beams in our region and whatnot. So looking at the market trends actually provides you for more opportunities. I'm hoping that's what's going to come out of this tariffs, and I'm hoping that we kind of get together more of a community and we support each other and provide more finished products instead of sending all of our raw items down to the States, then making and manufacturing the products and then us buying it back. It just kind of almost seems backwards. I understand that was the way it was and it made more sense at the time, but now I do like to see like it's going in another direction. And it could be even now we're doing more business with our neighboring provinces like Manitoba. And again, know your customers. This is another thing, seeing what your customers are doing. Like I said, if you look on a lot of your competitors' websites, sorry, competitors, I said customers. Competitors might be right away, they have a big Canadian flag and they're saying made in Canada. So then okay, that's a trend. That's something that my competitors are doing. It's something that they found useful, something that they're doing. I owned a restaurant, and so what I would follow, my restaurant was a healthy restaurant. It was not like a McDonald's or a Burger King, but I actually would follow Burger King and McDonald's in their marketing, in the sense because I knew they spent so much money to do that market intelligence that there was a reason why they were doing what they were doing. It wasn't like they were just going together and just throwing stuff in the air and hoping something stick. They put in millions of dollars to their marketing campaigns. And so I would try to pay attention to like, okay, who are they targeting? What language are they using? And to see, and that's for you and your competitors. So it might not be someone that you're directly competing with, but someone in that space that maybe is like that big player. Maybe look at them and seeing how they're adjusting to these changes. And that could give you ideas to how to change for your business as well. They spend enough money in those marketings that I'm sure you can get some use out of that. Your customers too are very important. They will tell you things. Sometimes customers' opinions are a lot to handle at times. And hopefully as an entrepreneur, you become more discerning to figure out what opinions to listen to and what not opinions to listen to. For me, a key indicator would be if it comes up quite often, if it's the same thing said over and over again, then I'm like, okay, I need to make that change. So it could be something like your customers are saying, I really like your product, but your shipping's too expensive. And maybe it's, it all comes from Kenora area. So then you're now investing in possibly getting into a retail space there so that the local community can go pick up there instead of having to pay shipping. Things like that will help you strategize to make changes. If you just ignore it, that customer will eventually go away. They're giving you the feedback because they want you to be successful. They're not giving you a feedback to be mean or to cut you down. Sure, there's always bad players, but the majority of them are there to really support you. They want to see you successful. So even though it's sometimes uncomfortable to get feedback about something that you love so much and you put so much time and energy in, it's only going to benefit you and your business by you listening to your customers. And again, you're like, these are just going down into what I've just said too, is staying flexible, listening to your customers, understanding their changing needs. As a customer grows too, maybe your product grows with them, maybe it doesn't, whatever, but you really want to listen to what they say about your product. Okay, let's go to the next one here. Now, building a resilient team. This has come up quite often. I thought this was a really important slide to add. The reason why is that sometimes, or not sometimes, majority of the time, I have these wonderful entrepreneurs that have these great ideas, but they're not the ones to be that sales team. They are the brain behind it. They know what the functionality of it. They know maybe they're the cook in the kitchen, but you don't want to put them out in front of the customers because maybe they don't have that friendly customer feel to it. They're better in the back kitchen and doing that. Or maybe they have the idea, but they don't know how to build it. Like a lot of software and apps, a lot of people have great ideas for software and apps, but they don't know how to build it. So they need to find a team that actually can build that software for them. So if you can see that to build a team that can support you is one of the best things that you can do when you first start out in your business. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in a paid employee. You do not have to, have 10 employees that are paid minimum wage, and then that's going to be super stressful when you haven't even made a lot of revenue. It could just be community members or groups of other business owners or networking. The community, again, I'm a huge fan of Northwestern Ontario. I love the way that we collaborate with each other. I think it's something that we should be very prideful about, is that if you are someone in business, you can go ask another business person or a community member, and they usually will tell you things that they did to overcome problems. Or like I had a customer that orders a bunch of stuff from overseas, and the way it travels in Canada is very costly and time consuming. It lands in Vancouver, has to get on a train, goes to Toronto, then has to get on a truck, a semi-truck, and then has to come to Thunder Bay. That's a lot of time and a lot of money. So they were then figuring out it was cheaper to get it sent to the United States and just get it shipped up to Thunder Bay. I would not have known that if I wasn't talking to him about a problem one of my clients was having with the shipping. And he was like, oh, just ship to this state, it's pretty easy. Now it might not be so easy, but in the past that was just a problem that was solved just by me asking a fellow entrepreneur that I knew that had ordered from overseas. I wanted to know how he was handling this problem. So again, it doesn't necessarily have to be a full-time employee. It could be other community members. Just get yourself involved and don't isolate yourself. You won't benefit from being alone and trying to figure out everything by yourself. You really want to get support from your local businesses, even here, or NADF, like organizations. You can come to us and you can say, like, my business is suffering right now, or we really want to adapt this new technology. We just don't know how. Maybe we can connect you with a program that can support that, so you're not paying so much out of pocket. Because as you see in my second point here, employees are really expensive. They're very expensive. They're expensive to train. They're expensive, just by the wages, what you owe the government, all of that stuff. And they tend to turn over too quite often. So it's good. Not saying that you don't need employees, most people do, but you don't need it when you're just starting out, you're still trying to figure it. You can get the insights and the support from your community and other business owners, as well as like organizations like NIDF and us. So Trust and communication obviously is very important when you're building a team. A lot of times startups, you have these grand ideas, which is great, but you really want to be honest with people that are investing into your business, or they're taking that risk by working for you and they don't know if it's going to be a lasting company or not. Just be really honest and say, like, this is my first attempt of trying this bakery. I'm doing the best I can. Here's your hours. This is what I expect from you. This is what I need from you. And just be really clear, because a lot of times startups, it's a lot of grunt work. You're working really hard, and sometimes employees might not understand that. So just be really clear, and I always say manage expectations, because once you hire someone, you want to keep them on. And then I always say, know what you know, and then hire for what you don't know. That tends to be the best way. You don't want to hire a bunch of yes men or a bunch of people that think exactly the same way as you do. Your products will end up being pretty boring and pretty, for one group of people. If you can have some diversity or some people with other opinions and ideas, it's not that you want to have people fighting all the time. It's just if you're sitting in a meeting and you're discussing your product and you're like, oh, does everyone like it? And everyone's like, yeah, yeah. That's not a very meaningful conversation. But if someone's like, yeah, I do like that, but maybe next time, we have a cap that's not attached, or maybe next time we make it so it fits in the average coffee container holder in the car, whatever it may be. But you want to be able to have a discussion about your ideas. Even here at the Innovation Center, when we try to create programs for our community members and our clients, we have a discussion about it, and we ask, like, okay, do you think this topic on this webinar is going to be successful? Some people say, well, no, our clients need, a little bit more discussion about this. Or, I see, like, most people ask me about how to deal with the tariffs. We need to do a whole webinar on the tariffs. So, that's the same thing. You need to be open and honest with your employees or your community members, whoever you're bringing on to discuss your business and to try to address any weaknesses that your business might have, but you want to make sure that they are complementary to your experiences as well. And then network. This is mostly uncomfortable for people. A lot of people don't like to go and walk into these big events or even smaller events. You don't know anyone. You're walking through and you're introducing, hi, my name is Carole. I'm from the Innovation Center. It's uncomfortable. I feel uncomfortable. But honestly, I would not have met Peter from NADF or any of these connections if I didn't put myself out there. And I'm right split in the middle of the introvert, outrovert type of person. I need to recharge after I put myself out there, but it's something that I do because I'm here to benefit our clients in our region. So I know it's the work that needs to be done. I could probably hide in my office and never go out, never talk to anyone. And maybe I wouldn't get fired. I don't know, but that wouldn't be a benefit. And that's where I want you to think about your business too, is your business is ultimately going to benefit your customers. So you really want to start networking where your customers are, even where those weaknesses that you have. So maybe, like I say, you're attending tech talks or something if you're trying to develop an app and you need more developers. So tools for ongoing business evaluation and improvements. So this is always kind of a scary thing too, to see, how well is my business doing. So it doesn't have to be too crazy. I put some less tech ways to do it. The reasoning why is most startups don't have a lot of money to spend on software that can track things. The point of sale systems, meaning the POS, they have a lot of features where you can even see how many products that you sell within a certain hour, within a certain day, how many products of a certain, SKU or whatever. You can analyze all that, but those systems are very expensive. So I just like to use very less tech, to me, easy ways to evaluate my business. And the first one is probably the most simplest. And I hope most of you are already doing this without even realizing that it's a way to improve your business. And it's just like what you need to do. Maybe it's every week that every Monday, you write like things that you need to be accomplished in that week. Maybe it's like, need to complete my marketing material, need to contact 5 new potential customers, need to outreach, whatever it may be, it's good for you and your team to actually have goals and set them out. So the second one is kind of, combining those two together, setting goals. So that's where your checklist is. And then the next week you evaluate, like, did we accomplish everything? And it's not to scold people or get yourself into trouble. It's just to figure out, like, well, why didn't we accomplish it? Was it too big of a goal? Was there a snowstorm that happened? Whatever it may be, but it's really good to understand how your business can be always improving and what you need to do to improve your business. So I really like those two things. It's very simple, as goals and checklists. And the thing is that ideas are great, but the execution of this is really hard. So to be consistent on something like this is probably the most difficult for entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs were a little bit of a scattery kind of brain type of people, but it's good to, like, put it in your calendar and do not ever change it. It's like every Monday at 10 a.m., whatever day it may be, but be consistent on that. And it will become easier if you're more consistent and you're setting new goals and you're figuring it out. You're getting a collaboration from your team, whatever it is, but setting that consistency to check your business and to check that those actions that you did. And it could even be like, last week we did a marketing campaign. Okay, how much sales did come out from that marketing campaign? How many emails did we get from it? Whatever the metric is, or the goal that you want to see, maybe that's part of the checklist, is to check back to see if that was even successful or not. So the SWOT, I don't know if you guys have done a SWOT analysis. It is a good thing. It's simple tool. It's just one sheet of paper. You put this letter SWOT in 4 sections, 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom. The first 2 will evaluate your internal, so what's inside, like your business itself, so your strengths and your weaknesses, and that could be like your strengths, like your experience, your education, your knowledge, whatever it be. It could even be strengths of where you're positioned. Maybe you're a forestry company and you're positioned in Northern Ontario. That's pretty big strength for sure. And then you want to look at the weaknesses. Maybe it's the location. Thunder Bay is also can be a weakness, or the region can also be a weakness because it's really hard. We're really isolated and it's hard for us to ship out stuff or whatnot. And then the second 2, the external, the opportunities and the threats, those are things that we don't have control over, but they're good things to actually be aware of. And I see, like I said, I see these tariffs as more of an opportunity. Obviously, it is a threat to specific industries. I'm not discounting that or saying that, it's easy for them, but maybe this is creating more of an opportunity for small Canadian-owned businesses to make their mark in the market, because people are seeking them out. I don't know, but yeah, hopefully you guys see that as an opportunity as well. And the second one is root cause analysis. I think this is an important one too. It's like to figure out why there was a problem. So say you go to a market and you have all of your beautiful beading work all over on the table, and you realize you made one sale and you drove 5 hours, you took 2 employees, and you had to rent a car, or you had to pay gas, and you had to rent a hotel. That's really high expense, and you sold one product in the whole market. So you want to analyze, like, why do we even decide to go to this market? This was not our people. This was not our customers. It wasn't, everyone in the market had more food products. This wasn't a product market. It wasn't a crafters market. Whatever it was, it will help you make better decisions in the future if you can understand why a problem occurred. Maybe even shipping. So say if a bunch of your customers are very upset with the delays of shipping. Okay, let's figure that out. Oh, Canada Post, if I don't get my package to Canada Post by 5 p.m. on Thursday, it takes two more days to be delayed. Whatever it may be, you want to figure that out, because what will happen is the people, your end user, your customers, are the ones that are going to feel that problem. And customers are finicky. They won't come back and come back. They'll understand one time if you can say, like, yeah, I know we made a mistake, or yes, I apologize, the shipping was late, but we've improved on that, and now we're making sure that our orders are going out by Thursday at 5 p.m. according to what Canada Post. whatever it may be. But you just don't want to ignore problems that your business are having. You want to figure out what these problems are and how you can solve them. So these are fairly basic. They're not going into crazy analytics or crazy metrics. You're not looking at a lot of math or a lot of like Excel documents or whatnot. These are just really easy to get yourself off the ground. Even the first couple years, I would think that these tools for evaluating your business and improving your business would be successful as well. I always find that the more you know, the better your business is, and hopefully you guys will feel very excited about that as you move along. It feels really good to me when I figure out a problem and I have a solution for it. It felt much better. Many times I just wanted to ignore the problem because I just didn't have time. And then that actually created like a snowball effect and then became a bigger problem. So it's not fun to see that there's problems within your business, but it's nothing to be embarrassed of. It's nothing to be shameful of. No business is 100% problem free. Every business deals with things. It's just the ebb and flow of business. So I encourage you to make sure that you feel very comfortable with evaluating and using these checklists. This also too, this is what I was talking about, a business model Canva. So you can Google business model Canva. I don't know if NADF, you guys might use it as well as part of your financial, snapshot of a business. But these have nine blocks, as you see. They go left to right. If you split it down the middle, actually, I probably have a slide for that, so I won't go into it. Anyways, I use just prompting questions here to keep your mind focused on what that block is actually asking for. And it's a good way to look at your business as a whole in one piece of paper. And it's very point form. So you're not getting into any crazy details or, something so long and boring. It's just, who's my main customers? Women under 40 that make $30,000, whatever, that live in Northern or Western Ontario. You can even go active. Maybe it's women that are into nature, whatever. You can even go more specific, because that's only going to help you in your marketing. But yeah, just very point form. You don't have to go into too crazy detailed or any sentences or whatnot. So like I was going to say, there is a split right in the middle of the BMC. So on the left side is the backstage and the front side is the right stage, or sorry, the front is the right-hand side. This is really good and interesting to look at. So if you look at a restaurant, there's many things that happen in the back of the kitchen that customers do not see. And in the front, where the customers are eating and dining and there's a hostess and everything like that, those two need to work together for it to be successful as a whole. You can't ignore, prep and ordering your food and think that your business in the front and the dining side of it is going to be served really well. You can't have it. You can't have, your kitchen doing really great, but you have no staff to bring the food out. So this is just a way of understanding that your business has a front side and a back side, and they all work together in order for your business to be successful. And it's important to make sure that you understand all of those blocks on each side of your business. So that is it, 𝐂𝐚𝐫𝐾. Thank you guys very much. I'm going to stop sharing. So if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer. We got about 7-8 minutes here for questions. And it's okay. That's a lot. Like, I talked for a lot. That's a lot of information for sure. Basically, I just want to encourage you all that when you have a business idea, just to flush that idea out using some of these tools to understand them, because it's very disheartening when you put a lot of time and energy and money into a business idea and you realize it's just not going to make you enough money. It's going to take you too much time and energy. There's not enough people in the area to sell this item for. And lately, what I've been actually advising and telling people is, and maybe this is because of this tariff thing, but in my mind is that a lot of times we think that we have to be like Southern Ontario. We have to be, like Vancouver or Calgary or these larger, flashier cities, and we're not, and I never want to be. We're very special and unique. So I encourage you to find solutions for Northern Ontario issues and problems, that will be, you know, far more successful, I find. And it's just something that maybe we haven't thought about in a while. And I look at it like in Kenora, they were having issues with their transit. You know, Thunder Bay, same thing. Our transit's very slow. It's not really reliable. People have to sit on the bus for like 45 minutes. It's just a disaster in these smaller communities. And, you know, everyone wanted to go to the rideshare idea. Well, that doesn't really work in our communities. First of all, the municipality has to approve that, and it usually doesn't want to approve a different way of licensing taxis. So it's just, you're fighting a battle that's not going to be really easy to understand. But what happened is that another community, I don't know where it came from, probably a small town USA or whatnot, they developed a software that small communities can adapt for their bus service. So it's almost like a tap and go kind of thing. So you say, okay, you get the map of the Kenora bus line and you tap where you're at and when you want to be picked up, and they will try to, the AI coordinates that bus to travel in a more efficient way to be picking up places. And I was like, why couldn't someone from Northern Ontario have made that idea? You know, like, we have the problem, we see the problem right in front of us, but we look for like an American or like a big city solution. And, you know, sure, it works sometimes, but I encourage you all to, you know, use your advantage of having that unique perspective of living in our region. It's a unique region, and maybe developing products and services for our community members that could then be adapted by other small community around the world. You know, we're not the only isolated small community in the world. There's many like us. So I think that that's just an interesting way to think about business ideas. But yeah. So that's my little spiel for encouraging Northern Ontario people. Okay, we got a question in the Q&A here. Are there yes, there definitely are. You can email the Innovation Center. So it's NWO Innovate. So NWO Innovation at .ca. That is our website. Let me just pop it in the chat. I will tape there. Well, so Angela, that's a great question. So what Angela is asking is that even if her business is not manufacturing new products, or she doesn't have an innovative part of us, again, something super special that's only really part of our region is that we won't shut the door on you. We'll take the information and then we'll tell you what community organization would better suit you for your needs. The one-on-one first hour meeting, we're okay. We won't be able to go and do the second one because you do not fit within our mandate. So maybe we're telling you to go to the CEDC, which is the City of Thunder Bay's economic, or maybe it's a business center in Kenora, or maybe it's NADF. Whatever it may be, I feel like we're all of our active people are all pretty good at knowing what other active services are and what we can support. So we won't turn your way, and hopefully we'll give you a good solution of where you can go for further advice. But definitely, like, reach out to us. I'm just gonna type the answer right here. So it's nwoinnovation.ca. That's our website. And then there's a contact us button on there as well. So you can contact us. And if you need a virtual meeting as well, if you're not in our, not able to come to Thunder Bay, that's completely all right as well. So I have some more chat. Oh, thank you. And thank you, whoever posted the Innovation Center's website much faster than I am. So that's it. Let me go back to the Q&A. Okay, that's perfect. So I think we got it all. If I guess if you want to do the spin wheel now, unless there's any other questions that's popping up. Yeah, thank you everyone, and I appreciate you all staying online and joining us for this webinar. And I thank you very much for inviting me, NIDF, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.